Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's Licensing Subcommittee on Tuesday, the 20th of September 2022 at 10 a.m. I'm Councillor George Madgwick, Vice Chairman of Licensing. First of all, we're going to go through a few housekeeping rules today. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwell. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble at the Queen Victoria statue in front of the civic offices. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust Fire Marshal regulations, anyone who has signed in at Guildhall reception desk should sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meeting. Please can everyone use the microphones and remember to switch them off when they have finished. So first of all, we're going to do we're going to do introductions first, and then we'll...
Sorry, you've missed the first item.
What's the thing? Introduction.
Appointment of chair.
Oh, it says here the other way around. Okay, we'll appoint the chair first. Mr. Councillor Madden?
I nominate you since you keep telling us you're the Vice Chair of Licence.
I will second Councillor Madrid.
Wonderful. So I've been nominated as Chair for this meeting. So we will first of all do now declaration of members' interest. Councillor Madden?
I have none.
And Councillor Cobbs?
Nothing from me, Chair.
I have got a slight declaration, the fact that one of the deputations today is somebody from the Portsmouth Independence Group, which obviously I am the leader of, but we have not discussed this case in advance in any capacity. So we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. If we start to my left, please.
I'm Leo Madden, Councillor for Nelson Ward.
Alison Harper, Democratic Services.
Good morning, Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer.
I'm John Walsgrove, Solicitor for the applicant, and this is Aaron Panchalingham, the applicant.
Councillor Russell Simpson, Hilsey Ward.
I'm Councillor Tom Coles, I represent Fratton Ward.
First of all, for the avoidance of doubt, we just want to bring to the attention of everybody in the room that we do not have a legal advisor from the council today. However, prior to this meeting, all parties have agreed to continue with this meeting in light of that. If there's any issues throughout the meeting, we have the option to adjourn. So if at any point any of the parties feel uncomfortable or feel that they wish to adjourn to a future date, please just make it noted to me and we will stop the meeting immediately and adjourn to a future date. So first of all, we'd like to start with the licensing manager, please. Derek.
Yes, good morning, members. So we're here today to consider an application for the grant of a premises licence for Quickie Mart 373 London Road, Portsmouth. The matter has been referred to the committee for determination following receipt of two representations from other persons, namely Councillor Simpson, who's the ward councillor, and a nearby resident, Miss Smith. Miss Smith is unable to attend today, but obviously Councillor Simpson is here and you'll hear from him shortly. The premises licence application has been submitted on behalf of Mr Aaronen, and the proposed licensing activities are the sale of alcohol, off sales Monday to Sunday from 6 in the morning until midnight, with the hours of opening the same. The applicant has detailed in the operating schedule the steps intended to support and promote the licensing objectives, and these can be found in the redacted application form attached at Appendix A to your bundle, and also Appendix B, members, is the premises plan of the premises. Public notice has been given by way of press notice, a premises notice, and as I've said, the local ward councillors were notified of the application, so there are no grounds therefore to reject the application for non-compliance with the prescribed advertising requirements. The premises is located on the corner of Meredith Road and London Road and has been a retail shop in various forms. The premises were purpose-built as a retail outlet on the ground floor with private accommodation above. And there are additional shops on both sides of the road, plus a car sales, and the Green Post is almost next door. Members, there have been no representations from any of the responsible authorities, and as I've said, you have the two relevant representations from Councillor Simpson and Miss Smith before you. The applications or the representations basically object to the hours that have been applied for on the basis with Councillor Simpson's he believes it could breach the promotion of the licensing objectives for public nuisance and antisocial behaviour, and no doubt he will speak to you about that very shortly. At Appendix C are the representations, and attached to Appendix D you will see there's some correspondence that's gone between Mr. Woolsgrove, the applicant solicitor, which was forwarded to the two people who made representations. This correspondence explains in more detail the application, the trading experience of Mr. Aranan, and you'll see the response that came in from that at Appendix E. Members, I don't think I need to say any more. You're all experienced, you know exactly what the licensing objectives are, but I will just outline they are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. I will be here throughout the proceedings, so if I can assist you in any way or give you any more information that you require, by all means ask at any stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for the licensing manager? I've just got one at this very early stage. You mentioned that the premises is next to the green post. Just out of interest, do you have the times available of when they carry out their licensable activities?
Yes, I do. In fact, I've got times for the other licensed premises around that area as well, if you would like those.
I'd love that. Yes, please.
Okay, so we go with the green post to start with. That's the public house, as you know. They're licensed for on and off sales. Their sales are, their opening hours are from Sunday to Thursday, 11 o'clock to 23:40 hours. And then Friday and Saturday, they close at 00:40 hours. The actual sale of alcohol is Sunday to Thursday, 11 to 11. And on a Friday and Saturday, they cease selling alcohol at midnight. Then the other premises nearby, one of the off licenses is called Riva. It's a convenience store. They're open from 8 to 11, Monday to Saturday, 10 to 20 to 30 hours on a Sunday. The Spa at 456 London Road, they have alcohol sales, off sales from 6 in the morning to midnight. And the Tesco Express, it has off sales from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 at night.
Unfortunately, you can't ask. However, you could ask me to ask. Could you just confirm the Spa, please?
Yep. Spa at 456 London Road, off sales, they have from 0600 to midnight.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Does the applicant have any questions of the licensing manager?
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. So if we could now go on to the applicant, please present their case.
Thank you, councillors. Just in relation to the representations made, it seems that the dispute is not whether a licence should be granted for the store, but what hours are appropriate. And as you know from the application, we've applied for 6 until midnight. The suggestion is that it shouldn't be as early in the morning or as late at night. And I think in the councillor's response to my email, he was certainly suggesting it shouldn't be longer than 11 p.m. So in that sense, there isn't anything in the representations which calls into question how the shop operates or the fitness of Mr. Aranan as a licence holder. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about how he runs his shops, but I will just cover the kind of basics of his application, what conditions he's offered, and also mention to you his other shops that he has. You're probably aware as an experienced licensing committee that in terms of shops, your remit is to control the hours for the sale of alcohol. It isn't to control the opening hours of the shop. So in the event that you make a decision to grant a license for less hours than 6 to midnight, the shop is still going to be open 6 to midnight. And I think that's an important point to make, because I think the principal concern seems to be that there may be antisocial behaviour or noise caused by people congregating outside of the shop after 11 o'clock. But it is going to be open no matter what the determination. And it's important for you to understand that as a shop shopkeeper, the last thing that they want is for people to be stood outside the shop who are causing a nuisance, because of course that means nobody's going to come into the shop, nobody's going to want to shop there if they're having to walk through people who are causing a nuisance outside. So it's actually in Aranan's commercial interests to make sure those things don't happen, let alone the promotion of the licensing objectives. So as I said to you, and you've read in that correspondence, Aranan is an experienced operator, and he's had shops in Portsmouth for the last 19 years. He's actually got 10 licensed premises within this city, and all of varying lengths, but the longest one, as I say, has been 19 years. And all of those stores have premises licenses, and so of course he has to put in place proper due diligence within his stores to make sure that the objectives are promoted. Hence, in his application, the offer of conditions which you would consider to be the norm for a convenience store. So a comprehensive CCTV system which has recording facilities, and Aranan installs the highest quality CCTV within his premises, colour, digital recording. Obviously the training of his staff is key. He has Challenge 25 policy across all of his stores and would have it here. He's offered in this application to have notices placed within the store advising people to leave the area quietly, and also to have a refusals log. And obviously with training and refusals, those documents could be available for inspection by the police and local authority. Again, although in his operating schedule he perhaps has not drafted the specific wording of the conditions, again, as an experienced committee and with previous licenses, you will have fairly standard worded conditions for all those things: the CCTV, training, refusal log, Challenge 25, and we accept that the wording of those conditions will follow that format as opposed to the actual words he's written on his application form. Just drawing your attention to one or two things locally. So Aranan does have a store relatively close, which hasn't been mentioned by the licensing officer, and that's the one at 193 Kingston Road. It's not too far away, Quickie Mart, and that is licensed for 6 a.m. Until 12 p.m. And indeed 6 of his licenses have got those much longer hours than the suggested 7 or 8 until 11 p.m. You'll probably know that under the 1964 Act, which preceded the 2003 Act, the off-licence hours were set by statute. So the government said you can only sell alcohol between 8 and 11 and 10 and 10:30 on Sundays. And that's why a number of off-licences in this city have those hours, because effectively they were grandfathered over, and for whatever reason those shops have been happy with those hours and haven't sought to vary them. So in terms of hearing about other shops being only licensed 8 till 11, in my respectful submission, that's generally the reason why, because they've simply grandfathered over their hours and haven't subsequently applied for a variation. I certainly know for a number of clients I act for in the city, including the Southern Cooperative, that many have gone on to vary their hours for later licenses because convenience store shopping has changed in its style. So what has brought that about, I couldn't pinpoint, but certainly within the city of Portsmouth, Aranan will say to you, there are a lot of people who work different hours to perhaps the usual 9 to 5 job, and the convenience stores are required to open up early and close later, and people do want that opportunity along with the rest of their shopping to be able to purchase alcohol. It's the whole facet of convenient shopping, being able to get everything you need under one roof at unsociable hours without the need to travel to a large supermarket where you may have to queue up for hours to get what your weekly shop would be. Obviously the convenience store is a top-up shop. And so alcohol does form a fundamental part of the convenience store concept. but no more so than any of the other sort of fundamental products that you want to find in a convenience store. So, for example, tobacco, fresh dairy, milk, newspapers, magazines, those sorts of things. All of those things are key elements to running a successful convenience store, and without one of those elements, the store doesn't stand much chance of success. And certainly that's Aaron experience over his time in this city, that in his shops he needs to be able to provide all of those. People come in for what are called top-up shops, effectively to their weekly supermarket shop, and those products are an absolute must. What he does realise, of course, is that having a premises licence is an absolute privilege, and one which has to be taken care of, hence having to put in the due diligence that he does across all of his stores and be able to satisfy you that he can promote the licensing objectives. So alongside all of that experience, alongside the facts about convenience store shopping and the longer hours that are needed, the government actually have issued guidance under the Act, under Section 182, and they specifically reference shops and supermarkets. And their guidance is that a shop should be allowed to sell alcohol for all the hours it is open, unless there are good reasons why that should not be the case. And those good reasons have to be based on one or more of the 4 licensing objectives. And obviously Councillor Simpson is here to say to you the crime and disorder and public nuisance objective would be adversely affected. So we have 2 parties before you saying 2 different things. Well, I'm asking you to attach greater weight to what the responsible authority's view is on this application. And again, I'm referencing the Section 182 guidance, where, particularly in relation to crime and disorder, you are specifically directed to look to the police as your first and primary source of advice on that licensing objective. And they have not objected to this application. But that guidance also goes on to state that you should also consider effectively the expertise of other responsible authorities, and therefore in relation to public nuisance you would be looking to your environmental health team for advice and guidance, and again they have not made a representation to this application. So in support of our view that you should grant this licence for all the hours the shop are open, i.e. 6 till midnight, we ask you to attach the greatest weight to the fact that no responsible authorities have opposed this application, and within the representations from the resident and the councillor, there is in fact no evidence put forward as to why they think those concerns they raise would come to fruition. They are, in my respectful submission, fears expressed as an opinion as to what might happen, not based, we say, on credible evidence. And the Licensing Act has within it a protection against those fears of what might happen, in that at any time any person can apply for a review of the premises licence. And as you will have read in my email to Councillor Simpson, that protection is there to allow committees to encourage business within their cities and apply light touch to licensing applications, because although a fear is expressed and you may not find credible evidence to support it, certainly if you go on to grant the licence and those things materialise, so for example the antisocial behaviour caused by people outside of the store, then that is something which could be reviewed, and then there would be clear evidence which parties could put to you to say, well, this has in fact happened. As I've said, we would like to reassure you that in this specific location, Aranan does not foresee any issues of antisocial behaviour or noise nuisance. The store just down the road, as I say, at Kingston Road, licensed 6 till 12, doesn't experience any of those sorts of issues. And so, all in all, taking all of that into account, I would ask that you grant the application as applied for with conditions taken from the operating schedule. And of course I can answer any questions that you may have on any of those submissions. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Walsgrove. Members, do we have any questions of the applicant? Councillor Madden?
Thank you very much. I have a question outstanding now because of your deputation to the licensing officer, but perhaps you could come back to that later on. I have to say, when I first received this, as Alison will tell you, I said I can't do it because, of course, I thought it was the one in Kingston Road, which is in the ward that I represent. So I had a quick look at Quickie Mark and to see, I think I counted 6, but if you're saying it's 10, that's fine. But I just want to make sure they're all the same. The one, when I was on the bus this morning, I looked at the one in Kingston Road. I've never used it, I have to say, because I'm about half a mile away from it. But that's called the new Quickie Mart. So it's just with the Quickie Mart in the name, but there might be different, a new one or a revised one or whatever. There are different names to some of the shops. There's one in Fratton, for instance. And that's a Quickie Mark, I presume, but I'm not sure. They aren't purely called Quickie Mark, are they? That's really what I'm trying to say.
On the premises licence document, yes, it will either be Quickie Mart or New Quickie Mart, yes. But that all of the Quickie Marts in Portsmouth are Aranan's premises.
Okay. Could you tell me how he, with all these premises, and there may be some outside the city, are there?
No, they're all within Portsmouth City Council.
Does the applicant manage all these himself, or does he have sub-managers? How does he? Is he a general manager or just the owner of all of them?
So Aranan is the owner of all of them, and yes, we'll have a management team in each store. However, he is very hands-on and will visit each of these stores at least once a week, if not more. There is one particular store that he spends more time in because it needs more of his input as the owner manager.
Okay. Can you on the one of the main objections here, or the main objection seems to be the potential antisocial behaviour. It's a pity we don't have a legal advisor here today, because he could have told us whether we can actually take that into account or not. But I'd just like, from the experience of running the other ones, have there been any problems? You know, have environmental health come in at any time to any of the premises or outside because of nuisance problems?
There's only been problems in relation to one store, which is the one in Albert Road, and there was a review of that premises licence. So that store in Albert Road was licensed for 24 hours a day, and that a review was brought by a local resident regarding antisocial behaviour and nuisance outside of those premises, and following that review the hours were reduced from 24 hours a day. Off the top of my head, I think they were reduced to either 3 or 3:30 each day in the morning.
When was that? Is that recent?
I think that was probably 6 months ago.
Yeah, I would say it was about 6 months ago.
What I would say is two things. So, firstly, the decision of that licensing committee, we could have appealed that decision because we actually had evidence that the person who bought the review had not told the truth to the committee. As it was, an agreement was reached with the local authority on those, with Portsmouth City Council, on the hours that were appropriate, and as a business, Aranan took the decision that those hours were perfectly suitable. We didn't need the 24 hours, and so the appeal didn't go any further. But certainly the evidence that was adduced on that appeal was not accepted and could and should probably have been challenged on an appeal. It wasn't. The more important point, I think, is that that shop on Albert Road is surrounded by a significantly higher number of licensed premises, on-licensed premises, many of which open into the early hours of the morning, and that is an incredibly busy street. There is a Ken's Fried Chicken almost opposite, which opens until 4 o'clock in the morning, and that is an area where there are a lot of people anyway late at night, whereas the location of this shop, its location is entirely different, so wouldn't have those sorts of issues that the Quickie Mart in Albert Road was alleged to have had.
Okay, can we just look at the licensing hours which Mr. Stone has given us, which I find quite interesting, I have to say. So just up the road is the Spa, the other side of the road, and that's from 6 to midnight. Tesco is in effect, no, not Tesco, the Green Post is in effect to midnight, in the sense that you drink up at 11 and then you get kicked out by 11:40, yeah? And then I didn't get the name of one of them, but Tesco's is to 11 o'clock. And I suppose I need to ask Derek, but I had to come back on that, whether there have been any problems, particularly outside Spa, which is a wide pavement as well, for nuisance in the area. Because, I've experienced kids being nuisances outside licensed premises all over the city, I have to say, yeah. But it's not necessarily something that continues all the time. What I want to know is how well clearly the current premises that are owned are managed. But again, it's probably a question for Derek whether we've had any particular problems with any of those. Just say the applicant is 19 years experience of running stores or operating stores or whatever in the city. I suppose we listen to the objections in a minute, but I presume the expectation appears to be that there may well be problems, not that any. I've never heard of any problems outside Tesco. It's not in my ward, but I haven't heard of any. But there is a Tesco in the other side of the road from near North End Junction. Again, a wide pavement. I haven't heard of any problems there. So I just, if there were problems antisocial behaviour, what would the applicant do?
So just responding to several of those points, all his staff are trained to ensure that if there are people outside the store, the staff will ask those people to move on. In the event that they were causing antisocial behaviour or nuisance and refused to move on at the request of the staff, then they would contact the police. In relation to 9 of his 10 stores, they don't have those issues. You're right when you say, well, there are kids will hang around outside shops. That's been a forever problem with convenience stores. Those sorts of issues have nothing to do with the sale of alcohol. It's just the moth to the light syndrome, where if a store is open, that's where maybe people would congregate. You're right to say and point out that you're not aware of any problems at the other premises, and certainly Aranan, who knows that area extremely well, is also not aware of any issues happening at those stores. And I'm sure had the Spa, Tesco's, or I think the other shop was called Riva, something similar, had they experienced those problems, you would have heard about them in the letters of representation, because they would have been able to evidence what issues those stores were facing. The fact that no mention is made of any trouble happening elsewhere supports, in my respectful submission, the contention that there isn't going to be any issues at Aranan's store. But certainly the staff will be proactive as I said, it's in the commercial interests of the store to ensure that people aren't congregating outside, whether they're kids, whether they're people that have left the Green Post and are walking past and stand outside to have a chat, anything of that nature. The staff do engage with people outside. As I said, it's only the one in Albert Road where actually that has to be put in practice. And certainly I can assure you that they are proactive and work with the police. So the one in Albert Road had a particular problem with homeless people who stay outside, and Aaron continues to constantly work with them to address the issues that can bring his store. But he's not foreseeing that those problems would happen here, but he's certainly well equipped and prepared to deal with them should they arise.
On your email of the 30th of August, you offered to meet both Ms. Smith and Councillor Simpson. Did that meeting take place?
It didn't, sir, because in Councillor Simpson's response, his view was that he would only want to meet to persuade Aaron Ann to amend his application to 11 o'clock at night, which he wasn't prepared to do. So it seemed at that stage that the two parties were obviously wanting you to make a determination what is the appropriate finish time, whether it be 11 or midnight. We'd offered to meet so that we could discuss in detail everything that we've talked about today, and so hopefully that the resident and Councillor Simpson could be reassured. But from the response we got back, it seemed that perhaps would not be a good use of anybody's time.
Just before we go on to Councillor Coles, if that's okay, just a point of clarification, Derek. I just want to confirm these times again because I've just had conflicted information. So the Green Post I've got written down as Sunday to Thursday, and the licence goes on till, as in the sale of alcohol goes on till 11 o'clock, but obviously people can remain in the property till 20 to 12. And on Friday and Saturday that goes on to midnight. Riva, we've got 8 a.m. to 11 p.m, if that's correct. Tesco's 6 a.m. till 11 p.m, if that's correct. And Spa 6 a.m. till midnight is what you said to us, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
I've just got a thing here that Spa actually closes at 10 p.m. Is that a conscious decision, or are they licensed until midnight but they consciously choose to close at 10?
That's a matter for them. They do have a licence. It goes to
But they have a licence, I
Yes.
just want to confirm that. Okay, that's absolutely fine, no worries. So Councillor Simpson, during your deputation, obviously you could come back on what's just been stated in regards to the email, okay? Councillor Coles, any questions of the applicant?
Councillor Madden took every question I had.
That's okay. That's absolutely fine. Just a couple of points of clarification for me, if that's okay, Mr. Walsgrove. It says that above the shop there's private residence. Is that also owned by your applicant, or is that privately owned by other individuals?
Other individuals, not owned by Aaron Ann.
Okay, no worries. And just out of interest, really, because obviously the applicant is incredibly experienced, needless to say, it's been stated by you in an email that the detrimental effect of not granting extended hours. Just for interest of the members, really, what kind of alcohol sales are expected at 6 in the morning till 8? Is it quite? Because I don't simply know. Is it quite a common thing to have people make alcohol sales that early in the morning, or?
It's not common. I mean, the probably between 6 and 10 in the morning, alcohol sales would be few and far between. It's about being able to offer it to those customers who do need to purchase alcohol at that time, and likewise between the hours of 11 and 12, he wouldn't envisage there being high sales. Again, it's about being able to offer that to the odd customers that do come in, because you build up a loyal customer base in that way. If you're not able to offer the convenience product, and as I said to you, it's not just about alcohol, it's about everything else. If you're not able to offer that product for whatever reason, say for example the milk delivery didn't turn up one day, that means the loyal customers would have to shop somewhere else to go and get their milk. And customers are reasonably fickle. If they go somewhere else and think, oh, this is a nice shop, I'm going to go back there again, that he's going to lose customers. So it is about, as I say, that availability. If someone wants to go and buy it at that time that he's open, that they're able to, that they're not being told, no, I'm sorry, you can't have that, when they might go to, for example, one of the other premises and then continue shopping there. But the sales are pretty minimal. it's about the maintenance of loyal customer base.
Okay, and in reference to that point then, so from like 11 o'clock at night, how many people, because you've got 6 stores at longer hours, how many people after 11 p.m. at night go in for milk and general? Is that quite a common thing? Do people go in that time at night for that, or is it mainly alcohol sales that time at night, like tobacco and stuff like that?
No, the alcohol tends to be purchased with other products, so with the milk, bread, etc., ready meals. So people on shift work, for example, use the store late at night and will do their, convenience store shop and buy alcohol with it. It's quite unusual for people just to come into the store to buy alcohol.
Perfect. That's the only questions I have. Everybody finished? All good. Wonderful. So now we will move on to the deputation. We have Councillor Russell Simpson of the Hillsy.
Is he not allowed to ask questions? I think Russell's allowed.
Yes, okay, yep. Mr. Walsgrove is happy with that. So Russell, if you'd like to ask any questions of clarification for the applicant or points of clarification, that's absolutely fine.
Actually, to be honest, I think everything in my statement kind of outlines. I would have liked to have met, irrelevant of what you presumed was the only thing I wanted. I think it's just kind of a case it would have been nice for me to explain, but I would say that in my deputation so you can understand my point of view. That's all. Thank you.
Sorry, you didn't speak up.
Sorry, state that again. Sorry, Councillor Simpson.
You're now asking questions.
No, it's fine. I haven't got questions. No questions.
You can only speak
Wonderful.
when you can only speak to asking questions or to make your deputation.
Thank you. Thank you, dear.
No, sorry, but I don't know what you said anyway. Since you said it, could you repeat it?
I was just saying that I'd read my statement. I'll just read my statement. It's fine. No questions. Okay.
Perfect. And moving on for that point, you can go ahead with your deputation, please, Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here today not to object the alcohol licence entirely, but the hours the applicant has requested, which is 6 a.m. to 12 a.m., 18 hours a day. The area which Mr. O'Rannan has applied has multiple apartments above and behind and 8 apartments on the other side of Meredith Road, Woodfield House. It's a stone throw away from a public house and also a single road alleyway from a primary school. My concerns today is potential increase in antisocial behaviour, public nuisance, noise pollution, and safety to children within the area, which under the section 182 of the Licence Act 2003 is 2.1, 2.15 and 2.22. Let me explain in detail my concerns. As I've stated, the new off licence is around 100 metres from the Green Post pub. The local residents already deal with noise and antisocial behaviour at closing time. However, it is quickly moved on as the closest off-licence or bar that's open past 11 p.m. isn't within the area, especially on the weekday, as I know that we've outlined with the pub. This isn't my only opinion. This isn't only my opinion, but shared among the surrounding residents of Meredith, London, Torrington and Kipling Road. Now, I know Mr. Walgrove has assured me and Anne that in selling alcohol until midnight at this location, it will not lead to any increase of issues of antisocial behaviour. That is a view which is supported by the police, as they have not objected to this application. That had there been genuine risk of this occurring, the police would, I am sure, have raised concerns. That was quoted. While I can see the logic of that statement, that unfortunately doesn't represent the current issue surrounding Hillsy. As I'm sure Mr. O'Rannan and Mr. Walsgrove know, Hillsy for the last 4 months has had a significant police presence called Operation Relief due to continuous crime and antisocial behaviour in the area, which, may I highlight, shoplifting has been very high on that list. Having spoken to the police superintendent Claire Jenkins in detail, there is real concern that the residents have lost faith in the police and therefore not reporting when there is antisocial behaviour as well as crime. In short, the stats are not accurate for the area. The police are working very hard with all the Hillsy councillors to encourage residents to report crime. However, that rebuilding of trust is a slow process. Let's not forget about the reduced number of police we have had over the last 10 years, though they are now increasing. A number of residents have reached out to me, one from Woodford House, which is the flats opposite the proposed site, and the other from Torrington Road. If it's with permission, I just want to read their emails. It's not very long, they're very short.
Unfortunately, you can't read any emails.
Okay.
It's got to be factual that we've had in advance.
Okay, that's fine. But just be aware that there has been multiple emails sent to myself. I think it's probably to outline the fact that yeah, and I know it's standard to have the A4 page on the window, but it's not always very easy to see. I have lived in Hilsey for 35 years and know this area very well, so I can understand the residents' concerns. I recently witnessed what I can describe as a very intoxicated individual deciding to use the post office, which is across the road, as a toilet. And number two, I might add, and a local had informed me he was a local alcoholic and it wasn't the first time it happened. Which leads to my second and last concern. Safety to children in the area. The site is a road alleyway from a primary school. The idea that alcohol could be sold from 6 a.m. to potential heavy drinkers waiting for the public house to open is quite concerning thought. Parents walking their children to school shouldn't have to pass that in the morning. If you think that is speculative, then you only have to walk a further 400 metres away from the Green Post, where there is many homeless that drink outside the Tesco Express, which with the parking space provided outside the location, that would be a nice spot to sit near off-licence open from 6 a.m. There are a few other concerns also, like if the car parking is full, taxis could park outside where there's double yellow lines and cycle lanes. There was actually an issue in Shadwell Road not too long ago where there was overparking and a cyclist got hit. As we have witnessed often, so a lot of taxis parking outside, which you've often witnessed off-licence that open to very late hours. What's very disappointing today is I offered to meet Mr Walsgrove and Mr Rannan to recommend off-licence time of 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. and give my reasons. However, I was told if the only reason I wanted to meet was to seek to persuade my client to amend his application, then there was nothing to be gained by the meeting, which felt like, in my personal opinion, it's my way or the highway. Clearly concerns of the residents, i.e. your customers and councillors, are not important to Mr Iranian's plan. The fact that it's close to a pub and primary school also hasn't been considered, as well as not doing due diligence to issues surrounding the area. I must advise the board to refuse your application today based on section 182, 2.1, 2.15 and 2.22 of the Licence Act 2003. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. We'll go to members in a second. Just a point of clarification, your closing statement there, you said you wish for us to refuse the application, but in your opening you said that you don't wish to refuse, but you just want to restrict the hours. Could you confirm which one you're actually looking for?
I think I'm refusing the opening hours, just to put it. So,
thank you for clarification.
or licensing opening hours to be absolutely
Members, do you have any questions of the Deputy?
Nothing for me.
Okay, Councillor Madden.
Oh. Sorry, thank you. Could you? I found your last one interesting. I found your last point interesting in people drinking alcohol and sitting outside in a car park in Tesco's. Early morning, late evening, I presume you mean. Why couldn't they do that just by getting alcohol from Spa?
Well, unfortunately, it's a case of begging and then drinking. I mean, it's not that uncommon in Portsmouth, and especially outside shops. You know, I think my real concern, the reason I emphasised on that is because of the fact that if you do have somewhere that's selling alcohol, and might be a more convenient spot because it's right by the entrance of the cars coming in. I would definitely say where the proposed site is at the moment, it's definitely a nicer spot, a safer spot as it's got railings. But my concern is that if there is lingering at 6 a.m, you know, that is very close to a primary school. I am concerned about it. I don't think these things have been considered. I don't think, unfortunately, I know mention about Kingston Road, but that's very, very far away from Hilsey. And Hilsey is very different from North End, with all due respect. If you just even hang around there, you'd understand what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think you answered my question, Councillor. The question is this. If you're worried about people congregating, say, in the Tesco car park, they can do that anyway because they can go to Spa.
Right. So my concern is obviously people that congregate that want alcohol at early hours in the morning and to obviously midnight after they leave the pub. The Spa is only open to 10. There is nothing open. No, he's wrong. I live in the area. I know more than he does.
Just a point of
You're wrong, apparently.
Just a point of clarification, Councillor Madden. The Spa have a licence until midnight from our council, but they operationally choose to close at 10 p.m. every night. So they do close at 10 p.m, but they could open until midnight.
No, sorry, you're confusing the issue now. You are confusing the issue. They've got a licence to midnight.
Correct.
If they choose not to operate until midnight, that's up to them.
Correct.
Okay. And we don't know, I have no idea now, this has just suddenly been brought into the equation, whether every day they close at 10 o'clock or don't serve alcohol after 10 o'clock. I haven't a clue.
Councillor Coles?
The spa in question, I pop into on the way to work in the mornings, and I can confirm it says 10 o'clock on their opening hours
Every day.
every day.
Thank you.
They have a license to midnight, Derek, is that correct?
Yeah, there is a licence, but obviously the premises can choose whatever operating hours they want.
Councillor Simpson, if you accept that most of the issues that you raise, in fact, are nothing to do with whether there's a license to midnight in the new quick save, but essentially antisocial behaviour matters to be dealt with by other agencies like the police.
And that's the reason why I mentioned the police, is because I know if you go online you can see the crimes in areas, and unfortunately there is a disconnection and trust between, and a lot of crimes not getting reported. I know this also because I don't live too far away from this area. I mean, it's not my local, but I mean, this is why it's so important. I mean, we've got another deputation from a local resident that hopefully I can read, as they can't attend today. But it's a real shame, because obviously I know there's a question of the system here. I've had many local residents saying, I wish we was informed through a letter through the door, and I said that's not how the system works, unfortunately. But there is genuine concern, and to be honest, if I was Mr. Rannan, I would probably listen to those concerns, because they are potentially his customers. So I think I do like supporting local businesses. I'm not anti-businesses. For me, I don't, even though residents have stated they don't want the shop, I'm more than happy to have the shop, but for me it's just those hours of potential selling of alcohol. I just don't think they're really suitable.
For point of clarification, just for the members and everybody watching online, I will read the deputation out, if that's okay, rather than yourself reading it out, from Anne Smith at 1 Meredith Road, which is in the pack. It's on public knowledge. To whom it may concern, I wish to register my objection to the application to sell alcohol at the premises 373 London Road, Portsmouth, PO2 9HJ, Monday to Sunday, 6 a.m. to midnight. We already have alcohol on sale directly opposite in the Premier shop, the Spa shop about 200 metres away, and the Cream Post public house next door but one. In front of the premises is quite a wide area of pavement which encourage groups to gather, especially if they're selling alcohol after the pub is closed for the evening. The area is very populated with several flats above above the premises, and also opposite corner. Any extra noise caused by the people chatting will disturb local residents, especially during the warmer weather when all the windows are open. Thank you for taking my objections into consideration. Councillor Simpson, I've got one question to ask you, and it's purely knowledge-based, because I am not overly familiar. I did drive past it the other day and just have a little look. I wasn't fully aware that there was lots of private residents above. Do you know roughly, as a ward councillor, how many premises, like residential premises, are they directly above and the site?
So there's ones above, there's ones behind. I believe it's around 6 altogether. I think there might be another 6 as well, and then there's 8 on the other side of that Meredith Road. So you've got the shop there and the apartments there, and one of the objections was from Woodford House. Obviously not official.
Thank you. We won't take that into account, however. Councillor Madden, any further questions? Councillor Coles, any questions?
Nothing from me, Chair, thanks.
Would John Walsgrove, would you like to ask any questions to the Deputy?
No, thank you, Chair.
No worries. If there's no further points, we will move to summing up. First of all, could I please go to the licensing manager to sum up?
Sorry, could I ask?
Yes.
I did intimate earlier on.
No problem, Councillor Madden, you can ask the...
Yeah, sorry, Derek. I couldn't ask you until I'd heard from the applicant. There are 10 premises in the city, or I presume 9 plus this new one. 10 operating at the minute. There are 10 operating at the minute. We've heard of problems from one in Albert Road. Have there been problems with any of the other 9 that have come to the attention of licensing?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Any further points of clarification from anybody? No? Wonderful. If we go to the licensing manager to sum up, please.
No, I've got nothing further to add other than just to reinforce the point that Mr. Walsgrove has made in relation to the review process that is available to responsible authorities or members of the public should incidents occur at the premises once a licence has been issued.
Thank you. And to the applicant to sum up, please. Sorry.
Councillor Simpson first and us
Wonderful.
last.
For the deputy to sum up, would you like to say anything further?
I suppose the easiest way is just to consider what's been said today, where the shop is being proposed. I believe that the hours, as it stands at the moment, are not ideal for the area, and I think a lot has not been considered. So I would still recommend alternative hours, and I'm open to compromise.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And now can we move to the applicant to sum up, please?
Just very briefly, I'm just picking up on a couple of points. Mr. Aranan, as you've heard, is an experienced local businessman, been in the city 19 years, got 10 shops. Believe me, he does his due diligence when he looks to purchase a new shop. He knows to look at the demographics of the area, what will work, what won't work, what issues might arise. He doesn't buy premises lightly. This is, he believes, an excellent opportunity for him in a very good location, and can assure you that the issues and fears that have been expressed will not materialise. And as you have probably heard, that the Spa have a large forecourt, for one of a better expression, and they're not experiencing issues, although we have heard mention of perhaps some homeless people in the Tesco car park. If that materialised, Aranan and his staff would deal with the issue, but he doesn't believe that will happen. Just in relation to the comments about the police and the lack of trust that the residents may have, obviously I don't know that situation, I can't comment on it. All I can say is there isn't any evidence before you that that's directly linked to the sale of alcohol. We've heard about some shoplifting. Well, actually shoplifting tends not to be of alcohol. People who shoplift are lifting other products which they can sell more easily than alcohol. That's just my experience of acting for thousands of retailers across the country. It's not booze people go for, it's things like coffee, meat, the stuff that can be easily sold on the street. So there may well be issues, but it's for you to decide whether they could be linked to the sale of alcohol. And I haven't heard anything in my respectful view which suggests that it is. And in any event, you've got that overriding protection under the Act of the review of the licence. And as I said to you in my submission, I ask you to attach weight to the fact that the police and environmental health and no other responsible authority have raised any concerns with this committee. And so I ask you to grant it as applied for.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walsgrove. Because in lieu of obviously not having a council legal advisor here, I think just for clarity, it would be good just to confirm that you are happy, Mr. Walsgrove, with the proceedings today, and you've got no issues of how they've taken place thus far?
Yeah, perfectly happy, sir. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So, stereotypically, we would now go into a private session where we would obviously make a decision and then come back and offer you, obviously, the statement. Due to the fact we don't have a legal advisor today, we won't be issuing you with an official decision notice. However, the committee will retire and have a discussion, and we will give you an indication of what we are thinking or planning of doing. Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Walsgrove?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wonderful. So the time currently is 5 to 11. I think probably just over half an hour should be okay. So if you come back at 11:30, and we'll give you an update on what we feel our decision may be. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.